Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're talking about the new AI gold rush and what it really takes to build a killer startup. And here's a little hint for you, it's probably not what you're thinking. So we're going to be unpacking some amazing advice from an AI startup advisor named Julie. Now, she's been in the trenches for years, helping founders build their core teams from scratch. And according to her, in this crazy new landscape, the biggest challenge, it isn't having a brilliant idea. Nope. It's finding the brilliant people who can actually bring it to life, and fast. Okay, let's get into it. All right, first up, let's just set the scene a little. This explosion in AI has kicked off a massive, massive wave of innovation. It really feels like a new frontier, and the startup scene is more alive and buzzing than it's been for a long, long time. And this slide really gets to the heart of it. AI is a total force multiplier. I mean, these new tools are radically expanding what one single person or a tiny team can pull off. And while this is all incredibly exciting, it's also completely rewritten the rules for building a successful company from the ground up. So, with all these amazing, powerful tools just sitting there at our fingertips, what's the biggest roadblock for all these new companies? What's the one thing that's really keeping founders up at night? Well, most people would probably guess it's about coming up with a unique idea, or maybe scrambling to find funding. But Julie says, nope, that's not it. Founders are finding out really quick that money and ideas, they're secondary. The number one most painful challenge is finding the right people to build with. And this right here shows you why it's so incredibly tough. You're not just looking for a talented coder. You're looking for a very specific kind of person. It's like you're fighting a war on two fronts. On one side, you're competing with the insane salaries and perks of big tech. But on the other, you need this very specific mindset, this entrepreneurial fire and a deep sense of ownership that you just don't learn in a big corporate job. And finding that combination, yeah, it's exceptionally rare. So if these people are basically unicorns, where on earth do you even start looking for them? Well, this is Julie's big insight. They aren't in the usual places. She actually warns founders that a super polished resume from a big-name company, it can be a red flag. Someone who did great in a really structured, predictable corporate world often just doesn't have the right mindset to deal with the beautiful chaos of a startup. And here's the crucial takeaway. The best candidates? They're not scrolling through LinkedIn or Indeed. They're what Julie calls underwater. You can't see them on the surface. You literally have to go on a hunt to find them in their natural habitats. This means you have to become something of a talent anthropologist. You've got to be lurking in those niche forums, watching what creators are doing on social media, checking out overseas communities to find people who are just building stuff because they're passionate about it. You're looking for what Julie calls wild power, that raw, innate drive to create. And that is so much more valuable than a perfectly manicured resume. Okay, so we've spent a lot of time talking about what founders are desperately searching for. Let's flip this whole thing around. What does this mean for your career? How do you actually become one of these people that everyone is looking for? Well, according to Julie, in this brand new world, there are two fundamental skills that now stand head and shoulders above everything else. And these are the things that every single fast-growing team is dying to find. The first one, and this might be the most important, is a relentless ability to learn. And we're not just talking about taking an online course here and there. We're talking about a deep, genuine curiosity about the world that just pushes you to constantly adapt and stay way ahead of this crazy pace of change. And the second skill is the ability to truly master AI. And listen, this is a really key difference. It's not about using AI, like asking a chatbot a simple question. It's about commanding AI. It's about orchestrating multiple tools and agents to get a massive amount of work done. When you have this skill, you become what Julie calls a super individual. Just think about that for a second. A single person who can manage the workload that used to take a whole small company. Someone who can lead an entire army of AI agents to build a product or run a huge marketing campaign. That is the new gold standard for top talent. And the impact is just exponential. AI has this 10x effect. It takes people who are already good learners and doers and just massively blows up their output. And what this is doing is creating a huge performance gap in the workplace between the people who adapt and, well, the people who get left behind. That 10x effect basically means the old career playbook is obsolete. It's out the window. The rules have totally changed, both for founders who are hunting for talent and for anybody who's trying to build a career that's actually gonna last. So what's your action plan? First, it all starts with your mindset. You have to be really honest with yourself. Are you driven by staying comfortable, or are you driven by a real curiosity to figure things out, even when it gets tough? Second, focus on mastery. Don't just be a passive user of AI. Go deep. Learn to orchestrate different tools, build your own agents, command AI to do things you couldn't do before. And finally, you have to get visible. Don't hide your work. Start building in public. Share what you're learning, share what you're making in those same niche communities. Because that's how you stop being underwater and become the talent that everyone is hunting for. And that really brings us to our final thought. In a world where specific skills have a shorter and shorter shelf life, a polished resume just means less and less every single day. The real question you gotta ask yourself is, what are you truly investing in? Is it your resume or is it your curiosity? Because in the age of AI, only one of those is a true long-term asset.